that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to yet another installment of Cowboy State Politics Live. From very high above all the puerile and vacuous forms of Wyoming mainstream media, this is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, slurring and mumbling and tripping over my words at the Cowboy State Politics studio in beautiful Sheridan, Wyoming. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. Happy Monday. I am back. Well, sort of. I've definitely missed being behind the microphone, and I can't tell you what it's like to go from talking to you each and every day to not being able to talk for almost a week. And I'm still not quite exactly recovered from the whole dental procedure. As you can tell, I'm still kind of slurring my words a little bit, but I had to talk to you today. And so I don't know if we're going to do the whole program. My guess is probably not. I'm shooting for about 30 minutes. And once if I've had my fill and I can't really do it anymore, well, then we'll just pick it up again tomorrow and try again. But I'm recovering pretty well. I just kind of sound like this.
Groundbreaking Asian Americans like Vera Wang and
like that.
And Markey, that it's really very, very dull when after all these years in public life, I know some really great ice cream places around here. And Daddy owes you.
Oh, well, I'm not quite that bad, but I do probably sound like this.
True international average of pressure.
Okay, all right. Not that bad. But I'm slurring my words, trying my best, and we're going to try to get through some of this. Right before the program, there was some breaking news that just came across the news desk. If you haven't heard, Judge Eileen Cannon has dismissed the classified documents case against former President Trump from Fox News, and I quote, Fox News' David Spunt, says a judge in Florida has dismissed the case against former President Trump's handling of classified documents. Trump had faced charges stemming from the special counsel Jack Smith's investigation. All right, we all know that. Let's see here, reading through the order. Former President Trump's motion to dismiss indictment based on the unlawful appointment of funding of special counsel Jack Smith is granted in accordance with this order. U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon wrote in a Monday ruling. The superseding indictment is dismissed because special counsel Smith's appointment violates the Appointments Clause of the United States Constitution. This is an absolute win for President Trump. This turned out exactly as it should have. So, yay, man. No more classified documents case for President Trump. Now, Jack Smith can appeal, of course, but why would he? I mean, really, everything that's gone on this past weekend, it doesn't make any sense for him to even think about appealing that. So anyway, good news for President Trump. No classified documents, no more Jack Smith. And so I suppose that this probably is starting to spell the end for a lot of these Trump prosecutions. So good news there. Great to hear it. So now let's talk about what happened over the weekend for a little bit. This doesn't happen very often in America. No, though we aren't strangers to political assassinations. They happen here just like in every other country, just not as frequently here. We've had a number of presidents assassinated. James Garfield was one of them. He was killed by this guy named Charles Guiteau. Charles Guiteau was a guy who thought he was promised a position in Garfield's administration. When that didn't happen, Guiteau killed him. Then, of course, there was John Wilkes Booth with Abraham Lincoln. There was Lee Harvey Oswald with JFK. John Hinckley tried to kill President Reagan. And then Sirhan did kill Robert F. Kennedy. But do you know what all of those folks have in common? Do you? They're all on the left. Not a single one of them was a conservative. Now, this guy that tried to take out President Trump, he was registered as a Republican, or at least the best I can tell, he was. But I'm guessing when we look into him, we're going to find out that he wasn't conservative and he wasn't a real Republican at all. Even though the documents say that he's a registered Republican, that doesn't really mean he is. But all of these political assassins or attempted assassins, they all have one thing in common. Well, two, really. One, they're absolutely off their rocker. But number two, they are always on the left. You see, it is the left in this country and in this world, for that matter, who believes that the ends justify the means. You see, we conservatives, we would never believe that. Not for a second. We believe that how we get to a place is at least as important as the end goal itself. So you would never see, and I shouldn't say never, but I mean, we haven't seen a Republican or a conservative stoop to the level of trying to assassinate a political rival. Now, you might say that, well, Lee Harvey Oswald, he was an insane communist. Well, communists are on the left. What about John Wilkes Booth? I mean, he was definitely a Confederate supporter, and he was part of the plot to first try to kidnap President Lincoln. And when that didn't work, then they just decided to kill him. So all of them are on the left. Now, I prepared a little montage for you. It's a little over a minute long, and I played it on the morning show, but I want to play it for you again, and then we'll kind of go through it a little bit piece by piece. But check this out.
And they fan the flames of political violence.
Just sit back on the sidelines and say, oh, well, don't worry, this will all work itself out. They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy.
Donald Trump cannot be president again. He's an existential threat to democracy.
He promised a bloodbath when he loses again. We have to take this seriously.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
If he wins, we know that he'll do everything possible to make sure he ends democracy as we know it.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundation of our republic.
We need to remind people the threat that Donald Trump poses, not just for 4 years, but for generations.
He told the crowd to fight like hell, and all hell was unleashed. They promote authoritarian leaders, and they fan the flames of political violence. The defeated former president has made no secret of his attack on our democracy. He said he wants to be a dictator on day one, and so much more.
Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy.
Cannot be president again.
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Wow. That last guy was, his name is Rick Wilson. He's the founder of the Lincoln Project, the biggest anti-Trump outfit that is around. He has been fomenting and saying some really wild stuff for years and years. I've got a whole article down in the stack of stuff. Let me play another one of Rick Wilson. Let's see here. You may have heard this one. Check this out.
And obviously it's false. And look, he also knows deep in his heart that Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, an administration defined by ignorance of the world. And so that's partly him playing to their base and playing to their audience, the credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump, that wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one and y'all elitists are dumb.
Yeah, so that's that guy. But he actually said somebody's going to have to go put a bullet in President Trump. Now, you don't think that some wacko got a hold of that and said, wow, this Rick Wilson guy, he's got a pretty good idea. I think it's pretty easy. I think there's one group, and in these things, the tendency is not to assign blame. Well, there's some blame that needs to be assigned here, my friends. And what we do on Cowboy State Politics is I tell you the unvarnished, unabashed truth, and I give it to you the best I know. And so I can tell you that there are two places where we absolutely need to call people out. One of them is the media. I played you a minute and a half, and that's only a minute and a half out of 8 years of these people saying that President Trump is a threat to democracy. He's going to destroy the planet and probably going to destroy the world along with it. And it's been over and over and over, and it even comes from the White House. And you don't think that one of these wackos got a hold of that and said, well, I kind of agree with that. So absolutely, all the leftists in the media, they bear some responsibility in this, because
2 + 2 is 4, not 5 if you want it to be 5. And this is not to be discriminatory. This is to stand up for language. Words mean things.
Words mean things, my friends. And you can't just say things and expect that nobody is going to pay attention to them. Second place that we need to assign blame is the Secret Service. And, it's I'm not a police officer. However, I do understand logic, right? So if you've got a guy like President Trump and he's giving an open air speech, and he's going to be exposed. By exposed, I mean there's lots of ways that you can get after him. The Secret Service shows up, and the first thing they do is a site assessment. All right, what are the possible targets? Where could somebody set up shop and get a line of sight to the president? Well, in Butler County, there weren't that many buildings across. And let me see here. I think I've got a picture here. I don't usually print off pictures in my stack of stuff. It just saves paper, and really the pictures don't tell you too much. But in this case, I printed off a picture, and let's see here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 buildings that they had to worry about. Now, imagine if Trump is giving a speech in someplace like Harlem. Okay. Harlem is surrounded by really tall buildings, lots and lots of windows, far more complicated than this place down in Butler County, Pennsylvania, which, by the way, I've spent quite a bit of time right where this event took place. And it's basically farm country. So they only had 4 buildings. And the question I have in my mind is, why didn't someone cover that one building? I mean, it's according to the picture, and this is why I printed it off, that it's approximately 130 yards away from the target, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. So really, really close, an elevated position. Makes sense to me that if someone was going to take advantage of that, that would be the building they chose. And they didn't have anybody standing, positioned on top of it. Now, I don't know why. Maybe they thought it wasn't a threat. Maybe they thought they already had it covered. There's probably a myriad of reasons why they didn't see that as a threat. But the truth is, they didn't have somebody there. And the result of it was we almost had a former president, but President Trump was almost killed. A couple an inch in the other direction, and we wouldn't be talking about an attempted assassination. We'd be talking about President Trump dead on a stage. So this major failure on the part of the Secret Service. Now, over the weekend, I did get some intel from some from some SWAT people I know here in Wyoming. And of course, they're going to side with law enforcement. But all of them were like, yeah, we don't really know what happened there. And, that this even had a chance of happening is kind of surprising. During the morning show, Joey played a segment from a former Secret Service officer that said, when you see the guys down on the ground moving, the people that you can see, that means that there has been a gigantic failure system-wide. And that's what you saw here. You have this nutball on top of a building, and he was able to take a couple shots off, or get a couple shots off, and almost killed the president. Or the former president. Now, let's talk about the implications of all of this just real quick. Well, actually, you know what? We're at break time. So let's take a break, and then we'll come back to this.
I saw him dancing there by the record machine. I knew he must have been about 17. He was so strong, playing my favorite song. And I could tell it wouldn't be long that he was with me, yeah, me. And I could tell it wouldn't be long that he was with me, yeah, me. Singing, I love rock and roll. So put another time in the jukebox, baby. I love rock and roll. So come and take a time and dance with me.
You are listening to Cowboy State Politics Live on the Independence Network. You're not going to find a selection of better news, entertainment, and commentary than right here on the Independence Network, with great voices like Joey Carenti from Just Blame Joey, Ken Pendergraft from The Ramble Room, Tom Kelly from Wide Right Turn, and the lovely Christine from The Hair Affair. And of course, my program, Cowboy State Politics, Wyoming's most listened to political program. Also, don't forget to check out the articles section at the website, independencenetwork.us. It's loaded with op-eds, commentary, and news from all around the Cowboy State. You can listen to the Cowboy State Politics podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest place is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles that I might bring up during the course of a program. That way, if your name is Joe Biden and you can't remember if you had your pudding today, well, I probably can't help you with that, but I can definitely tell you why you should have never ran for president. And now, back to our program.
I remember I was 8 years old with a blank tape waiting by the radio. Come on, man, play Back in Black. I want to play it back on repeat. I remember Panama City, long nights with a girl named Christy. She took me down to the Paradise City, then up on Cripple Creek. Still something about a guitar cranked up, head banging to the beat of the bass drum. Still something about a sold out show in the second row with your girl on your shoulder. Still something about raising a cold beer when the lights go down and the crowd cheers. From Delta Soul to Abbey Road, sweet child to sweet home. Still something about rock and roll, rock and roll. Still something about rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll. I saw a Journey in the big Coliseum. No dancing, no lip syncing. I tell you this, don't fight the feeling.
Welcome back to the program, my friends. David Iverson behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone, documented to be almost always right, just about 99% of the time. Now, I have to tell you, my friends, I'm very happy to be back behind the microphone. However limited our conversations might be, it's probably hard for you to understand what it's like to be able to talk to a big group of people every single day and pretty much any day that you want, and then to not be able to talk to them at all, or frankly, to not really to be able to talk at all. And so I'm really happy to be recovering, and it'll just get better and better. And so we're just going to take it a little bit at a time. But I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for all your prayers. I've gotten a lot of really very nice notes on Facebook, so keep those coming. Absolutely love it. If you want to get a hold of me, my address is david@cowboystatepolitics.com. That's my email. Or you can shoot me up, or shoot me up. You can hit me up on social media, Facebook, Twitter. My Twitter handle is David Dom Iverson. I'm pretty easy to find just about anywhere, but go ahead and send me a message. One thing I haven't talked about is we are on the final countdown to me getting hitched to the lovely Christine. So we're very excited. It's kind of a flurry of activity here at Cowboy State Politics headquarters. It's going to happen on Saturday. So, wow, right? Pretty exciting. She's an amazing person, and I can't wait to start our life together. So all that's going to happen on Saturday, and we're going to have a quick little wedding ceremony, and then what I hope is going to be a fantastic party. And so yeah, gonna be exciting. So the countdown begins. 5 days, I guess. So anyway, let's move on. So there's a great piece in the New York Post this morning, and it's basically a conversation with President Trump right after the shooting. And it's an opinion piece, but there again, with these sorts of things, that's about all you've got, right? All these talking heads on TV, it's all just their opinion and conjecturing and what they think is happening, what they think it means. I'll tell you what it means. Another leftist, and I don't even know that much about this guy, but I can tell you, just historically speaking, that this guy is a leftist whack job, and I'm absolutely positive of it. I don't have any evidence to back that up, but history says that these are the type of people that try to kill their political opponents. And you can look back at a whole bunch of them. It always turns out to be leftist. Now, what about the guy who tried to kill Steve Scalise on the ball field? Yep, Bernie Sanders supporter. Another one, right? I can't believe I almost forgot that one. But yeah, they're always on the left. So this piece in the New York Post, let me just read a little bit of it to you. And I quote, "A grateful and at times defiant Donald Trump told the Post Sunday that he's supposed to be dead, and he recalled the harrowing moment that a would-be assassin shot him at a Pennsylvania campaign rally. The former president shared the very surreal, quote, very surreal experience that nearly ended his life during an interview aboard his private plane on his way to Milwaukee. The doctor, quote, the doctor at the hospital said he never saw anything like this. He called it a miracle," said Donald Trump, who was sporting a large, loose white bandage that covered his right ear. His staff insisted that no photos be taken. "I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be dead," Trump said. "I'm supposed to be dead." He said that he would be had he not turned his head slightly to the right to read a chart on illegal immigrants. At that instant, what would have been a kill shot tore off a small piece of his ear and splattered blood on his forehead and his cheek. Trump said that the Secret Service agents led him off the stage, but he still wanted to continue speaking to supporters. But the agents told him that it wasn't safe and they had to get him to the hospital. He marveled at how the agents came flying in like linebackers as soon as the shooting started, and he unbuttoned the long-sleeved white shirt to show the large bruise on his right forearm. He also cleared up a mystery about his shoes on the video of the shooting and aftermath. As the burly agents tried to rush him off the stage for safety, he can be heard saying, "Wait, I want to get my shoes." As he explained during the interview, "The agents hit me so hard that my shoes fell off, and my shoes are tight," he said with a smile. He commended the Secret Service personnel for their heroic actions and praised them for gunning down the shooter, who was perched on a roof about 130 yards from the stage where Trump was speaking. So I want to stop right there just for a second. If you're a shooter, an experienced shooter, sporting or hunter or whatever, you know that 130 yards is nothing. That's an offhand, easy target to hit. Pull up the gun and shoot. When I'm at the range, 100 yards, that's a piece of cake, right? And even 200 yards, that's a pretty easy shot for most people who have experience with firearms. And so this wacko on top of a building at 130 yards with what all reports say it was an AR-style weapon. I'm sure it had a scope on it. So really, this whole thing that Trump not being hit any worse than he was is totally a God thing, my friends. And I don't think you can describe it any other way. There's a myriad of things that had to happen to save President Trump's life. Thank God they did. They did happen. And the only explanation for those that he turned to look at the chart, totally a God thing. So thank God that he was there and he was absolutely present. And just keep praying for President Trump. And I'll tell you another person that you should probably pray for. And you're not going to like me saying this, but we should pray for Joe Biden. The people that are surrounding him, and I'm not convinced that Joe Biden isn't actually part of all the evil stuff that's been happening in our country. But I don't think that he is in possession of all his faculties for us to blame him for every single thing that's happening. But you need to pray for him, that his family is abusing him. It's absolutely elder abuse. He's not in possession of all his faculties. And quite frankly, my friends, to keep this country from disaster, we're going to need the big man's help upstairs. So while you're praying, keep those people in your prayers as well. Also, there's some people on the left that, and this should come as no shocker to you whatsoever. It's the whole Rahm Emanuel, never let a good crisis go to waste. But there's a Democratic power broker who suggested right after the shooting that it was staged. And get this, he's been to the White House over 10 times. The guy who said, "Oh, no, this whole thing is staged." Yep, he's been a Democrat advisor. And just wait until I get to his name. You're going to love this. Dmitry Melhorn. Dmitry. That sounds awfully Russian, doesn't it? Why don't we have a Russia hoax going on? All right. I don't want to get down into a rabbit trail. I just found that interesting. But let me quote this for you from Fox News. A Democratic power broker who pushed the conspiracy theory that the attempted assassination of former President Trump was staged has visited the Biden White House at least 10 times, a Washington Free Beacon review of the visitor logs found. Dmitry Melhorn has met frequently with aides to the White House staff, Jeff Zients and Anita Dunn, one of Biden's closest advisors. According to the logs, Melhorn is best known as the political advisor to Democratic megadonor Reid Hoffman, a staunch Trump critic who serves on the Pentagon's Defense Innovation Board. Hoffman has given $7 million to a Biden-aligned super PAC and $6 million to the anti-Trump Republican Accountability PAC so far this election cycle. Hours after the would-be assassin Thomas Crooks shot Trump in the ear, Melhorn sent a memo to journalists pressuring them to portray the shooting as a false flag operation. In other words, that it was a setup. Now, the only setup here is that this Thomas Crooks guy was off his rocker. Obviously, if you're going to shoot a politician, you have to be a little bit crazy to begin with anyway. But here you have a guy that visited the White House over 10 times, saying that this was a false flag operation. These are the people that are surrounding our president. And so it shouldn't come as any surprise to any of you when I say we need to pray for the president, because he's got people like this surrounding him. Let me give you another one. Okay. Now, these Democrats, again, never let a crisis go to waste. So a former staffer of Representative Benny Thompson is no longer employed after he tweeted something pretty terrible. So he said, and I quote, "Don't miss next time." The congressman's office confirmed to the Washington Examiner on Sunday that Jacqueline Marsaw, a former case manager and field director for Thompson, was no longer employed. In a brief statement, Thompson did not specify whether Marsaw was fired or if she resigned. I was made fully aware of the post. And let's see here if it has. Here we go. In a since deleted Facebook post, the former staffer wrote, quote, and listen to this: "I don't condone violence, but please get you some shooting lessons so you don't miss next time. Oops, that wasn't me talking." Holy cow, my friends. And these are the type of folks that are very, very close to our elected officials and those people who are in power. We've got a serious problem on our hands, my friends. And, we've got to get a handle on this country. And it starts by winning elections. Of course, you know that the RNC convention is going on right now, or at least it started today. We should know before too long who Trump's vice presidential pick is. Oh, as it relates to that, I got a note from one of our operatives at the convention. Let's see here. Just a second. I got to pull it up. It's in my email. Just 1 second. From our pal, Jeff Wallach. Jeff Wallach used to run the program Wyoming is Right. I don't know if he's still going to do that or not, but here's what he says about the convention. Quote, "This delegation is unified and has prayed for President Trump and the nominee for VP. Last night, we attended the Convention Fest, a secured party with all the visiting delegates from around the world. One of the most popular Congress reps was our Congresswoman, Harriet Hageman. A tremendous outpouring of affection for her from outside Wyoming delegates. People from around the country stood in line to shake her hand and get a picture. Wow, our own national figure is her very first term. The coolest was the concern with Trace Adkins. It was awesome. Today, we venture to the convention itself and expect that the nominee for VP will be announced. My gut says it's either J.D. Vance or an experienced governor, so that would be Burgum of North Dakota, who has proven ability to run a government. So, directly from the convention, and I'm sure I'll get more updates as the week goes on from our operatives there at the RNC convention. There's a number of fans of Cowboy state politics that are attending. And I'm sure I'll be getting all sorts of updates from them, and I'll bring those to you on the program. Well, as promised, my friends, I was able to make it 30 minutes on today's program, so that's a huge milestone. Tomorrow, maybe we'll try for more. But for now, from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics Studio, I'm a recovering David Iverson, and I'm very happy to be with you. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off for today. We'll talk tomorrow. I've got another great interview from Cowboy State Politics coming up next.